is happening with this misfight?
The most intense, thrilling, electrifying sport on the planet. Mixed martial arts. You've been looking for the definitive podcast to call your new home to hear everything about it. The search is over. This is the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. Bringing you the hottest MMA breakdowns straight from the heart of the octagon. This show is all about MMA breakdowns. For fans, by fans. We're talking UFC, MMA, and the occasional big boxing match. We'll bring our unique take on how these fights are going to play out and who we think are the best bets. Welcome to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. And now your hosts, Olin, a.k.a. MMAnomaly, and Emiliano, a.k.a. Jive Turkey Nano.
What is up, fight fans? Welcome back to another episode of the MMAnomaly Show. I am your host, Olin, a.k.a. MMAnomaly, and with me, as usual, is the co-host with the most, Jive Turkey Nano. How we doing, brother?
We are doing fantastic. Had a fun Thursday night football game. Been a little while since we spoke, brother. Looking sharp with the new haircut, man. I missed the memo over here. Come on,
let's go, baby. You know, had to visit the barber a little bit here.
Love it. Got to stay clean, so fresh, so clean. But I'm great, brother. I'm excited, man. It's we're in a unique time here, man. A lot of news going on. UFC. No official UFC card this Saturday, but have no fear. The show must go on. Plenty to talk about. I'm excited to dive in with you.
The show must go on, guys. The show must go on. As you can see in the background, please try to ignore it. Right now, I'm in the process of kind of rearranging the home office / home studio setup. Gonna have a backdrop of what I think are dope posters and things like that. But right now, it's just a white wall, a heavy bag, and a fake UFC belt. So, again, as you stated, the show must go on. And it is about that time, guys. So, as Nano pointed out, there is no UFC card coming into this following weekend, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about UFC Fight Night Fiziev versus Gamrot, a.k.a. I believe it was UFC Vegas 79, which is the title of the episode, so I'm assuming I'm right, unless that was a typo as well. So, jumping into this fight card, we don't have to go over all of the prelims, but again, there are some of these fight cards that there are fights that definitely stood out on this fight card. One of which was definitely that Tim Means fight. My goodness, folks, I tried to tell you in the podcast last week. I know a lot of folks are high on Andre Fialho, but come on, Tim the Dirty Bird Means. I think I literally texted you one thing during that fight, and it was Dirty Bird!
Bro, he was getting dirty. He was getting dirty out there. What a fun fight, man. Great way to kick off the undercard there. One of my favorite fights on the undercard, in my opinion. One of the better fights of the night. I mean, Tim Means, man, turning back old Father Clock and saying, no, young buck. Let the old bull teach you a couple tricks here. What a performance, man. Great outing. Looks strong, man. I mean, you got to appreciate, I don't know if that's going to be his last fight or not, but you got to appreciate someone maybe going out on top or, going out on their shield. And what a performance, man. Turn back the clock there a little bit. A little vintage Tim Means, a little vintage Dirty Bird action there.
It was very, very nice to see. I was not mad at it. I was not mad at it at all. And yeah, my prediction all but came true, right? Like I knew that Tim Means was going to go out there. He was going to be the more wily Dirty Bird veteran. And I knew that he was going to have more pressure going forward. And I also knew that Andre Fialho doesn't do very well whenever people are pushing the pace against him. And that's why the outcome was what it was. We had 2 knockdowns in favor of Tim Means and 134 strikes landed versus 56 opposite him in favor of Tim Means. 104 of those were significant strikes. So, I mean, the guy was throwing venom. He was throwing absolute lead in those shots. And I tell you what, I would not want to be on the receiving end of those.
Absolutely not, man. Not a chance in hell. I like my body and face the way it is, constructed. I don't want to rearrange it or have Dirty Bird give me a good old fashioned butt whooping. But agreed, brother. It was a well-rounded performance. I mean, like you mentioned, over 100 significant strikes, ripping the head, ripping the body, ripping the legs, even had some control time as well. just all around solid, man. You love to see, an old buck put on a clinic here and teach the young buck a couple things.
And boy, was he. It was a fantastic fight all around. I look forward to seeing what's next for Tim Means. I'd like to see him get a very well-ranked opponent, at least top 15, maybe even top 10. He doesn't have a whole lot left on the career. If he's just looking for fun fights, give him a fun fight. But if he's looking to make a title run, work him right into that top 15 right away. He looks very sharp, and I think he'd be a problem for most of the guys in the top 10 even. Moving forward, we had Dan Argueta. Dan the man. He trains with our homie who picked up a TKO win this very last weekend himself. Shout out Ian the Juice Miller with the TKO victory. The man got it done, guys.
The Juice was
this
loose.
episode brought to you by the Juice Loose TKO.
Let's
You
go.
heard it first. You heard it here first, guys. Ian the Juice Miller, best fighter you've never heard of. So he did get a stunning TKO victory this weekend. He looked absolutely brilliant in there against his opponent. What else is there to say? He trains with Dan the Man Argueta, though, who was the very top of the preliminary card here in the UFC this weekend. Did not go his way. I did think that he actually did a lot in that fight. He looked really good. He had the, as we call it, the scarlet mask, the red mask, the blood mask. The guy's face was just a freaking mess out there. But I digress. He continued going on. He was basically willing to die out there, it looked like. And he made it a bloody, dirty, nasty fight. Both men got 2 of 6 takedowns, exactly 2 for 6. Where the differentiator was when one man was on top, he definitely was shooting for submissions, and that was Dan Argueta. He did go for 2 submissions, whereas his opponent went for none. He was just going for the ground and pound landing shots, which is why the strike numbers are a little bit skewed. It was 52 for Miles Johns against 38 for Dan Argueta. 33 of those 38 were significant for Dan the Man, and 43 of those 52 for Miles Johns were significant. So, again, Dan was putting a lot more on his strikes. There just weren't as many of them that landed, and that was ultimately the problem. Did you agree with the judges on that fight? And I guess, did that fight play out the way that you saw it going?
Yeah, I felt like it was a little closer than it was. Unanimous decision. A couple judges scored it 30-27. One had it 28-29. I probably would have been closer to that. I thought Dan might have been able to edge out 2 rounds. But like you said, I think the volume, just not being able to get enough out there, and then losing on the control time as well. They're going to factor all these things in. I love that he was throwing up attempts. I love seeing somebody be offensive. Like you said, bloodied face and all, weathered, beaten, still going out and doing everything he can to try to win that fight. You love to see it. But that's, I like the expression, don't leave it to the judges, right? I mean, if you don't want to, have it up to them, you got to take the fight into your own hands. And I know Dan tried to do that. This guy, Miles John, at 14 wins, only 2 losses. Well, I guess 13 wins going into it. But that's a veteran. Now, this is a guy that means business. And yeah, I think Dan stepped up big, showed out well, but just not enough. Just not enough. Got a little edged out, unfortunately. But it happens.
Happens to the best of us. It was a really good fight for Miles Johns. I thought he looked really sharp out there. He improves to 14-2 and looking pretty sharp in the UFC. Now, moving into these fights that we were definitely a little bit more excited about, we had Charles Air Jourdain coming in against Ricardo Ramos. This fight did not go at all how I thought it was going to go. I thought Ricardo Ramos was going to come out there and land vicious leg kicks, vicious body kicks. Instead, he landed vicious nothing. He went 0 for 10 on total strikes thrown, 0 for 9 on significant strikes thrown. But he did go 2 for 3 on takedowns attempted, and that's what led to his demise via submission. Did you see the fight going that way? Did you think Charles Jourdain was going to come out there with a submission-heavy kind of onslaught game plan?
No, absolutely not, brother. This was definitely a shocker. Charles Jourdain had the impressive victory over Ricardo Ramos. I was hoping to see a bit more striking here. I think I was a little shocked in that, they were really slow. And, hey, these guys, they're downloading each other's software. They're making their reads. They're doing their feints. It wasn't like they're completely standing like Yoel Romero with just his hands up. There were some reads being made. I was just hoping to see Ricardo come out a little bit more energy. But unfortunately, when, you go a couple minutes, thank you for the movement there, Owen, very nice. But after a couple minutes of just really squaring off, feeling each other out, like you said, the shot that led to the ultimate demise, him trying to shoot for that takedown. Jourdain was able to fight it off very well that first time, and he almost got that neck. And I think in his head, he's like, you know what? If he's going to let me do that again, I mean, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, hey, I get fooled again. I'm going to go ahead and rip that. And that's exactly what happened, right? He came back around. Charles Jourdain showed some very high level BJJ, grabbing the neck. There was that little bit of the flurry on the ground. But again, was able to get back into a good position, locked in the choke. Phenomenal. I mean, that was a thing of beauty. Chef's kiss. Great finish by our boy Charles Jourdain. The Canadian star, man. I love Canada's making some splashes now. They got a few guys on the roster. What do you think of the performance?
Good. I mean, he's looking real good. I thought he showed significant improvements. And I mean, the guillotine looked really nice. Just 3 minutes and 12 seconds to get it done. The man looked like an absolute psychopath savage out there. I mean, just blame Canada. I don't know, man. The guy, again, he looks like a completely different fighter, in my opinion, as of late. He doesn't seem like the same guy that went out there and fought Desmond Green, or even the guy that went out there and got the split decision win over Andre Fili. He looks like a much more, I don't want to say calm and collected fighter, but he definitely looks more collected. I don't know that calm is the right word, though, because, the guy doesn't look fucking anything close to the word calm. I mean, he's just...
Yeah, maybe poised, like just a little more poised in there,
yes,
right? Obviously, it's a fight, but he's poised under pressure. He's able to maybe think a little bit better.
And he's in the zone. His fight IQ, for sure, he's able to think a little bit better. His fight IQ, I feel, is probably the thing that's improved the most across all of his kind of gains. But yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about Charles Jourdain? Like, again, give him a ranked opponent in the top 10. I think he matches up well against most of them. Don't bring him right into the top 5 right away. Featherweight is full of killers. But again, I mean, I don't think that it's a bad idea to match him up against, some of those killers that are in the, top 15 kind of upper echelon of featherweight. Like, he does match up really well against an Edson Barboza, a Dan 50K Ige, who's coming off of a loss. You've also got Movsar Evloev, if he's willing to take the fight. Calvin Caden, Iga Chikadze, who's coming off of a big win. Alex Caceres, who's coming off of a loss.
Those are some big names, brother. You want Charles Jourdain. You want Ariel Jourdain to the top, huh?
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Like it.
Here's the thing. Like, the proof is in the pudding, right? And the gift is in the name here. Air, right? Like, Air Jourdain. He's got air. He's taken liftoff this weekend, guys. Like, the UFC should not be the ground control man on the radio saying, it's time to land on the plane now. They should be the fucking wind beneath his wings. They should be lifting him higher. So, I mean, like, you have the opportunity to really make a star here in Charles Jourdain, and he's someone that I do feel like his accompaniment. He's not going to be super duper outspoken. He's not a Sean Strickland that you have to worry about on the mic. And, I do think that he's a very gifted fighter. He came out the gates looking like a striker heavy or a striking heavy style fighter, but now the grappling has caught up, and it might be time.
It's a good call out, man. Yeah, no, I think it is his time. There are a lot of great names in this featherweight division. I agree with you. I think, hey, give him somebody that's ranked, or make it a top 15 contender fight where winner is going to get a name. And there's a few guys on that list here. There is one that, interestingly enough, was the last L that Charles Jourdain took. And that was to my boy Nathaniel, made out of bamboo wood. Carved up. Yeah, I was trying to thank you. I was trying to think wood. I was like, made of. Oh wait, no. Carved up. Yes, Nathaniel Wood, though. I mean, that is a fun strikers galore. Another guy in the same region here, Lerone, the Miracle Murphy, another guy out of England.
The Miracle Murphy.
The Miracle Worker, baby. Hey, there's some fun fights, man. A lot of big names.
I mean, honestly, like, there's a lot of good names, and the ones you're throwing out, they're good.
Talk to me now. I mean, and you already mentioned you took all the other good ones. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this division's deep.
Like 7 guys.
One of them. Throw a dartboard, and anyone it hits, I'll take it.
Honestly, it's a fact, guys. It's a fact. And moving right through the card, guys, Brian Battle coming in against AJ Fletcher, Louisiana's own AJ Fletcher, folks. Stand up. The guy's a stud. He was he was throwing it, bro. He was throwing that lead. But brother, it's really hard to come in against Brian Battle because, I mean, look, all right, if you've ever seen the video of the guy at like a Wendy's or wherever he used to work, yes. Overweight as hell, just like singing with the drive-through thing on, just getting it. And then you look at him now and you're like, that doesn't even look like the same guy, A. And B, like, I don't want to be beat by the Wendy's guy that's like singing. And the funny thing is, like, his nickname when he came into this was Pooh Bear. And I don't know if you know this, but he's officially changed his nickname to The Butcher.
Wow. So, I mean, what a pivot. What a pivot. Come on,
the guy went from Pooh Bear to The Butcher. You got to think, if the nickname had an upgrade like that, I mean, the fight style, the cardio, the fucking, everything's, it's got to upgrade. And boy, have we seen it in these last couple fights.
Oh, man. You bring up some really good points, actually.
Didn't have finishes, but the Butcher's coming out here finishing guys.
He's taking heads. He's collecting skulls now. Yeah, the Pooh Bear thing, I mean, I guess he has sort of a teddy bearish, like, friendly face to him, but it must have been, especially
when he used to be overweight. Yeah,
I think that has to be where Pooh Bear came from. He was living in the honey, brother. I think he was shooting it straight to the veins. I think that's maybe where the Pooh Bear came. He's obviously not a 280-pound obese drive-through worker anymore. I think that makes sense. I mean, and he's beat. I was gonna say he's beating a lot of meat, but that's not what butchers do. He's cutting the meat. He's
slicing it down, man. Yeah.
He's slicing and dicing. There we go. That's a better way. That's awesome, though. I mean, Brian Battle, what a stud. Yeah, I mean, what a dramatic change, or just a huge transformation. Like, I love seeing that. Anybody and everybody like that. If that doesn't motivate you to go start boxing training or get in the gym, like, please let that be a lesson. Like, anyone can do it. But Brian Battle, man, what a tough son of a gun, right? I mean, he's going out there, he's fighting against an AJ Fletcher who just looks like a muscle bowling ball. I mean, the dude is just built like an ox.
The guy's just speaking of carved of wood, AJ Fletcher, folks, you saw him test that guy. No,
if I could
he's cut though, dude.
Oh, I mean, shredded, great shape, short, stocky, which can present a lot of problems when you're a taller, lengthier fighter. But man, Brian had no problems with it. I mean, there was a little bit of the size and range in the beginning. I could tell AJ Fletcher was getting a little frustrated. Like, what the heck am I supposed to do? You're a bit too long. I can only reach so far. And so, yeah, the 10-inch reach. I mean, my goodness, that's insane. And you can tell, you can feel it.
When a guy's got 10 inches on you, it's like the epitome of the, like, you versus the guy she told you not to worry about.
Classic. I'm always worried.
and Muay Thai.
Muay Thai. Strictly reach. Yes. Again, you could just tell, though, he could never really get comfortable. AJ Fletcher, that is. I mean, Brian is a big boy at 170, strong. And when he starts throwing those hands, man, I mean, he's got a lot of power. I mean, again, he's a big boy. Like, he's got that 300-pound fist still. So I thought, man, Brian, he ended up showing some, I felt like, really good defense. He was rolling really well. That was what stood out to me. And then once he got a hold of him, he was able to use those really long limbs, which is a problem for anybody in the grappling department. I mean, when you can reach around and turn yourself into a boa constrictor, that's what I felt. That was a note I put, was that Brian turned into a boa, just reaching around long, irritating, and next thing you know it, got AJ out of there. Dude looks legit, man.
It's hard to defend against those long limbs, man. It's real hard to defend against those long limbs. And you're right, Brian Battle, he gets it done anywhere it goes. He can head kick KO you. He can punch you at range because he's long as hell. You just said it yourself. And I mean, those spaghetti arms, bro. Like, he just wraps them around you.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a lot to deal with, man. It's a lot to deal with.
it's and like you said, I think the best word, if I had to describe him and his fight style, and just like everything about him over encompassingly in one word, I think the best way to say it would actually be what you said a moment ago, is when you were describing how AJ must have felt in that first probably like minute and a half, is frustrating. Like he
For
just
sure.
seems like a very frustrating puzzle to crack, especially now that he's gotten this upgrade since losing to Hinat Fakhretdinov, which, I mean, respect to you. If you fight Hinat Fakhretdinov, chances are probably going to lose. I mean, everybody's lost to him other than his second fight, and that was like literally a decade ago, which is a lifetime in fight years, guys. Like he hasn't lost since 2013. It's like he took it personally and decided he's never going to feel that way again. So, real quick, shout out to the guys in the chat. What's up, Eric and Super Silly Shy Guy? Appreciate you guys being here. And if you are in the chat, please drop in the chat who you think should be next for these guys we're talking about. And later on, who you think is going to win the looking for a fight portion as to what we're going to be watching this weekend, since there's no UFC card.
Absolutely.
Moving forward, I'd like to say that we're going to go over a fight right now, but we're not. We're actually going to talk about something else. I mean, I don't want to like make this a rated R podcast, but I think like a raping or just a beating was literally like the best term for it, because it just wasn't pretty, man. It was one-sided. It was as one-way traffic as one-way traffic can get. And I say this as a Michelle Waterson fan. Man. Man, oh man. It was bad.
If you want to cue up the violin, that might be an appropriate ceremonial sound as we bury Michelle Karate Mommy Waterson Gomez's MMA career. It was tough. I mean, I literally like as Michelle was crying in the octagon after the fight, I was crying with her.
I was also
felt
crying,
that.
too.
I literally was holding it back, bro. Like I felt bad. I felt like I watched my sister get beat up. It was like, oh my god,
It was tough.
It was tough. She got dog walked. And it's
Honestly,
like,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just say the fact she was trying, she was giving everything she had. She was throwing everything but the kitchen sink, and it did not phase this girl Marina. She looked like a freaking Terminator. It was insane. It was. Yeah, it was bad. It was a murder.
Rodriguez beat her the first time. I knew she was going to beat her this time, and I did think that it was going to be pretty one-sided, but not even I thought it was going to be this one-sided. It was tough to watch. It was as one-way traffic as one-way traffic can possibly be. And, that being said, I got to be honest with you, as a fan, I say this in the best way. Watching Michelle Waterson's career has been an absolute pleasure. But watching Michelle Waterson Gomez's career has been pretty tough.
Right, you are, Cotton. That career sucks.
It's been pretty tough.
It's a bit bad.
I mean, and it's not even the fact that she's degraded as a fighter. It's that the competition around her has gotten significantly better, and she's made some pretty poor choices as far as fights that she's accepted. She had no business accepting those fights at higher weight classes like she did. And realistically, I think she used to fight at 105 in Invicta. So maybe if there was an atom weight in the UFC, which there's a number of women fighting at 115 currently that used to fight at 105 and realistically would rather fight at 105. If UFC opened up that weight class, I'd be more than happy to entertain more Michelle Waterson Gomez fights. But until then, I just don't think there's a reason.
No, there's not, brother. 4 losses in a row, 2 of them to Marina. And this last one was just so gosh darn definitive. Marina's a top-ranked talent in the division, no doubt about that. She could possibly be fighting for the title. I wouldn't even be mad after that performance. So maybe we got to give her flowers as well. But boy, the way Marina was able to get up from the initial takedown in the beginning, but those knees and the clinch and the elbows, it just felt like there was so much poison, like we like to say around here, behind those punches, brother. It was nasty. I can't say it enough. Marina, her movement, her feints, her length was giving Michelle problems. Again, Michelle's 5'3". Like you said, she probably can be fighting at 105. She's a small girl. It just, she bullied her in there. It's been a long time since I've seen someone get bullied like that. And even just the way she just like kind of shoved her face to the ground, started throwing some elbows, and it was called right there. I think the ref seen enough. Like, yeah, this is gonna be bad.
We've said this term quite a bit of times, guys. Sometimes it feels like somebody's getting big brothered out there. This was the first time I truly felt like somebody was getting big sistered out there.
Facts.
And it was in a real, real big way, guys. Yeah, I mean, Marina Rodriguez, ladies and gentlemen, she's an absolute stud of a woman.
Yeah.
And, I mean, not only did she get it done, but she made it look absolutely easy out there against Michelle Waterson Gomez.
Yeah, she did. I mean, and honestly, there's not a lot of women left for her to fight. I mean, she's right there at the top. She's ranked 8th. I mean, Mackenzie already has a dance partner. Maybe someone like a Jessica. Jessica Andrade is fighting Mackenzie Dern. Never mind. Maybe a rematch with Verna Yandaroba. She did beat Marina last, which is crazy to think about after that performance. So maybe that's one where it's like, hey, winner gets that next number 1 contender shot. What are you thinking? I mean, Amanda Lemos just lost. Do you reward her with that? I mean, I guess she has to fight again, right? But I don't know. What do you do? There's a lot of good talent up here, man. What do you do? What are you thinking?
So there is a lot of good talent up here. It is hard to see her losing to Virna Jandiroba again. But that being said, Virna Jandiroba beat her and is currently ranked higher than her. Why? Because Virna Jandiroba has been very active and she's looked very good. She's not the most polished fighter in the world. She doesn't like. If she were to throw a spinning back wheel kick, it probably wouldn't be the prettiest one you've ever seen. But if it landed, it probably hurt. And also, she's got a very strong grappling game, Virna Jandiroba. So I don't think that'd be an easy matchup for her. And you got to think she'd want to get that one back. Does Virna want to / is Virna willing to fight backwards in the rankings, though? I think that's the bigger question. And I don't know that. I mean, if I'm Virna, I'm definitely not taking that fight. So that being said, I mean, she's going to have to find someone, A, that's a good dance partner, and B, that's willing to realistically take her. I mean, she just fought number 12 and Michelle Waterson Gomez herself, right? So she didn't gain any excessive bump in rankings. She's still sitting heftily at number 8. I think realistically, she's not going to get anybody willing to fight her that's above her. It's going to be more likely that she fights someone that's within the 5 slots below her that's on their way up, that she's having to fight down the way that somebody else has for her. I don't think a Tabitha Ricci would be a bad idea. I also don't think that a Angela Hill wouldn't be a bad idea. She's always willing to fight anybody. And then also Lupi Godinez, I think, would be a fun matchup for her.
Yeah, those are all great names. Lupi, I mean, my goodness, she looked super impressive. That would be a really fun one to try to line up here since they both fought recently. Angela Hill
that Lupi
is
left hook. I don't know that it would do anything to that crisp boxing of Rodriguez. She just looks so fast in there.
She's got great movement, dude. Her feints, like the way she just kind of bops. Like I love the way she fights, man. Angela Hill has a dance partner. She's fighting Gomes in November. I think you're right, man. I mean, if you're not, I mean, Jan's probably going to fight Zhang. Carla needs to fight. Maybe she squares off against Tatiana. That really only leaves so many names. I like Luana Pinheiro as well.
Denise Gomes, huh? Maybe the winner of that fight. Maybe the winner of that fight gets Marina.
That'd be huge. That's in November. She's willing to take. Yeah, brother. All of a sudden, there's some fireworks in this division. Let's go.
Yeah, this division is definitely heating up, in my opinion. And I mean, like, I'm not a He-Man woman hater group like in Little Rascals here, but
great
this reference. Is like these. Thank you. These women's divisions definitely needed kind of a resurgence, and I think this is
for sure
a fight that helps.
100%. Yeah, Lupi Godinez as well. I mean, a lot of these women are looking sharp, man. They're getting better and better, and they're giving us a reason. They're giving Sean and Dana and the matchmakers a reason to get them back in there, get them on some of these pay-per-view cards, these main events, get the world to know about it, man. Let's do it.
Gotta do it. Got to. If I didn't think we'd get DCMR or DMCR, whatever the term is for the copyright stuff, I would probably play a clip of Bryce Mitchell's debut rap album, Pasture Fire. But because I'm afraid of the copyright strikes, we'll just go ahead and talk about Bryce Mitchell's fight against 50K Ige. Nano, I mean, as much as I would love to take the lead on this one, I'm going to go ahead and just, end my round preemptively and let you take the lead on this. Tell us how it made you feel.
I mean, I felt holy. I think through the initial, that beginning, or just the whatever Bryce did in the while he was getting his name announced. I just reenact this as I have a Bible right here. But he's sitting there and is getting his name announced, and he looks at his coach, and the coach has his Bible and says, "Go ahead, you know what to do. Let the Lord speak." And he grabs a Bible, runs in the middle of the ring while his name is getting announced, and he holds the Bible up and he's just yelling, "Freedom!" The power of Christ compelled me, brother. I mean, I felt it, man. I shocked, felt like I had to pray a little bit. I was like, yo, what we doing here? If I would have known he had the power of Christ behind him, I think I would have would have pulled out a second mortgage. I would have put my whole goddamn house on that fight. He's not going to lose. He had the power of Christ, brother. What are we talking about? He's got the man upstairs on his side. What are you going to do? Dan Ige, I'm sorry, brother, but it's not your night. I mean, if you're going up against that, you're going up against him with a capital H, forget about it, brother. Forget about it. But all jokes aside, it was a fun fight. It was interesting seeing that clash of different styles. Dan Ige was just a little too shy on the trigger, man. He had to take some chances. I think I figured, and my prediction was, if Dan can't get him out early, it's gonna become downhill, and he's gonna be in quicksand. And that's pretty much what happened right after the first few minutes. Again, he was a little too gun shy. I think you got to go out there. You got to give someone like a Bryce Mitchell something to think about. Maybe you throw a freaking kick up the middle, or rip the body. Like, do whatever you can to try and let him know, like, hey, you're not getting me there. And he just wasn't able to do it early. And so Bryce, when he's still fresh, while he was still dry, was able to get him down towards the end of the first, really stole that. And then he just kept the ball rolling. I mean, whether it's some adversity, he did get cut on below the eye, and then the knuckle, which those knuckle punches, man, every time someone catches a knuckle, it shuts him down. But his right eye's completely shut, still pushing through. I mean, that eye shut immediately. I was like really shocked, but just by how quickly that happened. So again, one eye with him seeing, and the closed eye with Jesus Christ having his back. I mean, again, he was able to push forward, kept scoring takedowns, threatened for multiple submissions, ground and pound, and really just put on a clinic. I mean, there's nothing else I could say. He really made 50K Ige one-dimensional, and unless you're Ilia Topuria and you're able to say, screw it, I'm going to out-tough you, and I'm going to get to my marks. I mean, you fell into the trap, Dan, unfortunately. But hey, great performance by Bryce, man. Love to see what's next for him. I mean, he's 28 years old, young. He's rapping. He calls himself the cash cow. I mean, I love his confidence. He's the only guy with the camo shorts. You got to appreciate that. But just a fan favorite. Great performance. Felt bad for Dan, but it was like, man, yeah, you knew what you're getting into. Wish I would have saw more risk. But what were your thoughts on it, brother?
I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. I think that was a perfect analysis of it. Was it the most exciting fight I've ever seen in my entire life? No. I mean, we had a 15-minute fight between the two men. I think we had less than 75 strikes thrown and landed. So, that being said, the most exciting part of the entire fight was, looking at the commentator just kind of squirm a little bit whenever Bryce inevitably was going to do some and you love to see it. Nobody expected that he was going to get handed a Bible from his corner. Nobody. I mean, the guy's a flat earther. I'm just calling a spade here. He is a flat earther. He openly admits it. And I mean, again, nobody thought he was going to pull out a Bible and then go on this glorious speech of saying, I'm going to donate $5,000 to Hawaii, and me and Dan, we're gonna pray together to prove that Satan cannot do anything against the power of prayer and the power of Christ. And then he raised his Bible high into the sky, and lights shone down from the heavens above. If you're good at Photoshop, can you just Photoshop a Bible in my hand as well?
I got a spare for you, brother.
We definitely... Thank you. I need one. That being said, Somebody please clip that because that's fucking amazing that you just had one on standby and was ready to go. Freedom! Eric in the chat, we appreciate you, brother. So, yeah, I mean, again, was it a super crazy fight? No. Did Bryce Mitchell shoot for 15 takedown attempts? Yeah, that was pretty wild. That was pretty crazy.
I saw that in the third round. They flashed a graphic. I was like, 15? I'm like, today? I'm like, that's 5 a round. Holy hell. What the hell's going on? Jeez. I don't know if that's good or bad. I was like, that's a day?
Yes, sir. That would be today. Yeah, he shot 15 takedown attempts.
It's like, geez.
He was 5 for 15 takedown attempts. Out of those 5 landed takedowns, the poor guy only went for 1 submission attempt. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fight fans of all shapes, sizes, and ages, we were not going to see any twisters on this faithful Saturday night. We weren't going to see any submissions in that co-main event. But what we did see was a grindy decision, and, good for Bryce Mitchell. Unfortunately, he did actually look pretty good out there. Thug Nasty got it done. As much as I was, ready and bottled up and just had it ready to go with the tweeter, I was ready to tweet. I had it literally just waiting to hit send. Bryce Mitchell's career since Since the Ilya Taporia fight, and I was just going to post the picture of his Pasture Fire album cover. His career as a Pasture Fire. I thought it was a good joke. I don't know.
That's a great one. That would have been good. That would have been good. Tough crap.
Tough crap. So, that being said, it just didn't go my way, and it didn't go Dan Igue's way, and it didn't go my bet's way because I definitely had Dan Ige on my bets. But you know what? We live to bet another day. We live to breathe another day, and so does Dan Ige. So moving forward, the only thing more catastrophic and saddening than Bryce Mitchell's 5 for 15 takedown attempts, 1 submission attempt, and post-fight speech was Rafael Fiziev versus Mateos Gamrot. The worst thing about this is this. So this whole thing happened, and just to preface, like what I'm talking about, this whole thing, the fight ended in a poor way. It was a stoppage due to injury. Rafael Fiziev went to throw a kick in round 2 minutes into it, and when he went to throw this kick, his planted foot, it stayed planted almost facing his opponent versus pivoting on that ball of his foot. Which is where you get a lot of your torque and your force. So what happens when it stays planted, and we actually saw this happen with Carlos Condit versus Tyron Woodley, is when you go to throw that kick and your foot stays planted facing your opponent, you put that unnecessary bind and torque on all the ligaments of that connective tissue. So connecting your kneecap, or the knee connecting and binding tissues that connect the upper part and bottom part of your leg. So because his foot didn't pivot, it literally just blew his ACL out. The UFC has confirmed it was a torn ACL. He will need surgery. Now, the worst thing about this is I could see this happening to, Bryce Mitchell. I could see this happening to a Bryce Mitchell. He's a grappler, right? He's not a striker. So if he's throwing a super crazy strong, like roundhouse kick, Thai style, and he doesn't pivot on that planted foot, it could be catastrophic. And I probably wouldn't bat an eyelash. I'd be saddened. It would be unfortunate. I don't want to see that happen to any fighter. But it would be more realistic and reasonable to see it happen to a grappler that's trying to throw a strike versus Rafael Fiziev is a prolific striker with an extensive Muay Thai career and background. I don't understand how something like that happens, even in the heat of the moment, where his body just doesn't instinctively say, okay, I'm going to pivot like my foot. Like for me, when I'm trying to show somebody how to throw a kick and they're doing something wrong, it's hard for me to force myself to do it wrong, to show them what they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm trying to do that, my back foot is like, no, fuck that, pivot.
It's that muscle memory. Yeah, brother. No, I hear you. And it sucks. Like, yeah, the torn ACL, and this is what, us football guys would consider like a non-contact injury. It was not. Yeah. And because at first when you threw the right kick, it got blocked with the elbow, loud sound, and my initial thought was, oh, he broke his like shin checked. Or his. Yeah, I thought it was elbow check. Yeah, and he did. He got the elbow checked. Right on the foot. Yeah. I'm thinking, oh, shin, like leg, like foot, something broke. And then it came to find out that it was on the
Poirier/Khabib like elbow check. I thought it was literally the same exact thing. And I heard the same sound. I watched the replay numerous times, and I was like, no, he like whimpers, and then he grabs his opposing leg. And then I looked again, and I was like, fuck, dude. I literally like
nope.
Zoomed in on the computer, and I was like, his foot stays. It just stays facing his opponent.
So it didn't move.
Tough to see.
Yeah, and that's where like dude, like that freaks me out. Like, I mean, I played football my whole life, and like luckily through the grace of God, never had any broken bones or injuries or anything like that. Like, but I had a couple buddies that tore ACLs, meniscus, like PCLs. Like,
I yawned this week and popped a rib.
I know you. You mentioned being surprised. It's like, well, brother, I mean, Fiziev is like a fucking elite level athlete, like at the top of his prime right now. Like that is why it is so surprising. Not surprising we, sneeze and pop a rib, or I just get out of this chair and pull a hammy. But yeah, I mean, an athlete, top of his game. I mean, unfortunately, like these things do happen. Like that's just a reality. In football, it's few and far between, but it can happen. I mean, you're making cuts, your body's going one way, or someone turns. Chubb, which was a contact one. I mean, the dude blew his knee back the other way, which is terrible. And that was only a torn MCL, like crazy enough. But the worst ones to me are the ones when you're running, you see someone pivot, and then they just like that Booby Miles, just not able. I mean, it's a thin little ligament, brother. And for a kickboxer, right? Like, I mean, he's gone his whole life, probably never had an injury like that. Like you would think
it's the ligament strain,
wearing. Exactly. So it's unfortunate, man. I mean, yeah, this is, and luckily, like these things don't happen too often in this violent sport that we love to cover. Like it doesn't happen that often, thank goodness. But yeah, when it does, you feel for him. And unfortunately, like I really don't know how the fight was going to go. I mean, he did the best he freaking could that first round, like fighting off Gamrot, giving him things to think about. That he had one like double, like ripped the body left, right, and then went upstairs, little combo that I think they commented was like a perfect combination. I mean, he just looks so sharp. He's so mean, and he was able to defend those takedowns really well. But then that second round, you did see him start to not be able to spin out of it or use just that athleticism that he has. And so I just honestly felt like if it wasn't going to be that injury, I mean, he would have had to have knocked Gamrot out, which probably was not going to happen. And I think Gamrot was going to start chain wrestling. He probably would have put up 20 attempts at that rate, maybe 25. He was on that Bryce Mitchell game plan. And I love Fiziev, man. I mean, it's unfortunate. Like, I think maybe might end up being a little bit better for Fiziev outside of the rehab, but it's like, hey, it's an L, but like you could look at it and say, yeah, I didn't lose. Like I got injured. That was more of a DQ versus like I lost the fight. I not good to get injured, but I'm trying to find the silver lining there.
I mean, I definitely agree. Like typically I would be the optimist prime in this Autobot situation. I'm a big optimistic guy, but I find it hard to think that Mateos was going to win that fight. Rafael Fiziev was, I mean, though it wasn't by a large margin, he was leading on total strikes landed. And he had thrown 10 less strikes and landed 2 less strikes across the board. And mind you, 0 takedowns, and he was able to stuff 5 of 6. You got to think, how many more does Mateos have in the gas tank? Even if he's got another 6, even if he's got another 12, at that rate, he's going to be gassed the hell out. If he throws another 12 takedown attempts, he at best is going to land 3 at the rate that he was throwing and landing at the success rate that he had. Likely he's only going to land 1 or 2 of those. And what's he going to do with the control? Is he actually going to land notable power or shots once he's down there? Is he going to throw up submission attempts? Because what we saw of the one he did land, there were 0 submissions attempted. I like to think that Rafael Fiziev was going to end up taking away with that fight into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. I mean, there were still 3/5 of the fight left. A little bit more than that. So I don't know.
You bring up a good point, brother. Yeah, because even when he did get taken down, he got
being an L though, right? Like,
yeah, in his book, like in your own kind of like you're going back home, like, all right, I didn't lose that. I was, facing some adversity, but I was going to figure it out. The matchmakers aren't gonna knock him off for that kind of a loss. Boom.
You got to think that he's like he lost 1 rank spot. He literally swapped places with Mateos Gamrot. So
fair,
no harm, no foul. He went from 6 to 7. Mateos went from 7 to 6. Up next for Mateos Gamrot, I think, is the more kind of important thing to do here. What do you do with him? I have one name on the tip of my tongue. I actually have 2. Yeah, I have two names on the tip of my tongue, but I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Interesting. I'm looking now. I was going to say Beneil, but Beneil already beat Gamrot. Like, do you make that again? And like for what, I guess, when there's like obviously other guys around. Maybe I'm looking below Gamrot if he were to maybe do UFC kind of a favor after that. Again, I don't know why he would, but maybe an Arman Sarukian, kind of a fun, grappler on grappler matchup, maybe. But it's
so
tough,
you don't want to have a rematch with Beneil, but you want to have a rematch with Arman?
Oh, did he fight him too? Well, here I go.
He fought him right before he fought Beneil. He beat him.
Oh gosh. See,
that was one of the closest fights. I actually thought Arman won the fight.
Then maybe that's the case, but no, that's
going to open up a whole argument if there's people watching.
That's a fair point. No, you watched me there. I would say Beneil then. Beneil was my first. Was that the name you were thinking of? Now
that was one of two.
Nice.
Yeah, that was one of two.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had Beneil, and the other one is going to come out of left wind here. Let's just call a spade, as I like to say. Look, guys, Conor McGregor is not fighting. He's not fighting again. Did you see the picture of him with Snoop Dogg? He looks fucking older than Snoop Dogg.
He looks bad.
He's not fighting again. He's just not. So I hate to break your hearts. I hate to break it to you, but Conor's never fighting again, guys. That being said, Michael Chandler most recently lost to who? Dustin Poirier. Got to think he wants to get that back, and he's never going to get a win over DP. And he's never going to get a rematch with DP either. Like, closest thing he could do is fight his teammate in Mateos Gamrot, who trains out of ATT and is one of the number one sparring partners for one Dustin Poirier. Now, their trajectory lines up perfectly with rankings. If Michael Chandler wants to actually get some more wins under his belt and go for a title run, he has to beat these types of names like a Mateos Gamrot or a Beneil Dariush. I think Mateos is a better fight for him than Beneil Dariush, and I think it's a fight that he'd be more willing to take.
That's a great call out. I love that. I agree 100%.
I just think that'd be a fireworks fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, poor Conor.
Not poor Conor, but it's just like poor Chandler, honestly, who's getting dragged along because of Conor. Yeah, that's more appropriate.
He lost the red panty night lottery.
Yep.
Hate to see it. As for what's next for Rafael Fiziev, it depends on how long the recovery is. I'd like to think he's probably going to have at least a 6-month layoff here. If he does have a 6-month layoff, realistically, gosh. You know what? Depending on how long the layoff is and depending on how much of a fucking bloodfest it's going to be here in 2 Saturdays, maybe he gets... God, I don't even want to say this. Fuck. They haven't fought. Sorry, I have to make sure they haven't already fought. Okay, yeah, no, they have not fought. Damn, that is a good fight. I don't want to say it out loud because then it's going to happen, and I don't feel like it's fair to one of these guys.
You're talking about Fiziev now? You're talking about Fiziev?
Yeah, I'm talking about what's next for Fiziev. So if Fiziev has a 6-month layoff, like I'm anticipating, and if Grant Dawson beats Bobby Green, like I'm anticipating,
that's the move.
Grant Dawson versus Rafael Fiziev, I think, is a really fun fight.
Grant Dawson's a dog, man. Yeah, we're going to be talking about him a lot here pretty soon. But he's a savage, man. His last performance was extremely impressive. And yeah, he's about to fight. So, yeah. And 6 months, Fiziev is a freak athlete, but that might be a bit more on the Optimus Prime side. He might be looking at closer to 9 to 12 months to get into fighting shape again. We're talking about just walking, getting back to routine stuff. To get back to his kickboxing pedigree, we're probably looking a little bit lengthier, unfortunately. So a lot of these names, Grant Dawson, I'd love for that, but I'm also I'd love to see Grant if he could get a decisive win over Bobby Green. Go get him another fight. He ain't getting any younger. I'd hate to see some of these guys that are finally breaking through. Yeah, dude, just run that one. Or next for
Grant Dawson, if he beats Bobby Green, doesn't take brother, yeah. Mateos Gamrot.
100%. That would be sick. That's a fight. It's probably what's going to happen next. Yeah, dude. We're out here, little Houdini out here. I'm telling you.
I feel like Grant is an unspoke hero. He's a beast in that division, and he's going to be one of those names, like you said. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Poirier knows him, and once you heard that stamp of approval, that Poirier's no, this dude's legit, and then you see him go out there and put it in the octagon, not just be a weight room guy.
ATT?
Mm-hmm. Or at least he was.
Fight Mateos. They both train there. Damn.
That'd be tough then, right? That would be tough to make.
Tough. But I mean,
they're gonna do what you got to do. But yeah,
it's not unheard of. I mean, Ian Gary just got paired up to fight his training partner Vicente Luque. So
sometimes when you're at those bigger camps, they may not necessarily, especially if they are in the same class, they probably. If I'm the coach, I don't know if I'm like really matching them up that often, or I don't know how I'd approach that honestly, right? But it's like, do you because like iron sharpens iron, or it's like, hey, you guys might actually fight. Maybe we keep the two dogs in separate cages. That's interesting to think about. Because some of those big camps, like even Ian Gary, like he's like, yeah, I train with him, but it's not. He's like, I don't have like, it's not like my boy. You know, some camps are really close, or there's certain guys they train for years, and it's like, dude, that's like a brother, like a Kobe. Jorge Masvidal kind of narrative, which turned sour, which can make for some good WWE storytelling. I mean, if you're Grant Dawson, maybe you look at it that way as, hey, I can make a name here, you know, a little red panty day myself, just lean on into this narrative. But anything, sky's the limit. I mean, we're counting chickens before they hatch now, but I do think for Fiziev, yeah, hey, get well soon, brother. You're a stud. I'm still a fan of yours, and hopefully to see you back ASAP. Gamrot, I mean, dude, short list. Go try to avenge a loss. Why not? Maybe you've earned that. You know, maybe you do have that argument to make. And if you're Beneil, hey, get back in there, brother. Go ahead and let them know what's up. And you're still at the top. You're still on that short list of contenders. So that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's so many good names for these guys that they could really get paired against right now. And with the, like you said, the lengthy layoff, it's hard to match make for Fiziev at least.
Exactly. It could look totally different by next year.
So that being said, that's it for the fights last week, guys. We have some killer fights coming up, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday. And I know what you're thinking. There's no UFC event this weekend. That's where you're wrong. Folks, we have Polaris 25. Absolute Grand Prix. Polaris Pro Grappling on UFC Fight Pass. Originally, it was supposed to be Aljamain Sterling booked to compete in the main event against Nathaniel Carved of Wood, but Nathaniel Wood unfortunately had to withdraw from the fight and was replaced with Mike Grundy. Mike Grundy is a retired freestyle wrestler who also competed in the featherweight division of the UFC during his wrestling career, and he most notably claimed a bronze medal back in 2014 in the 2014 Commonwealth Games. So very noteworthy wrestler. Mike Grundy is an absolute beast. We're not going to go crazy and break this down. Again, we know that this is an MMA podcast, not specifically a grappling podcast. That being said, I think it's going to be a really fun event. I definitely think it's worth watching, especially with the fact that there's no UFC event on this weekend. And, you know, if you're really, really itching for some MMA madness, there actually was another event this weekend. There was a Cage Warriors, I believe, happened today. So definitely make sure you check that out. It's Cage Warriors 160. And, yeah, I believe it's actually going to be happening through the middle of the night for us because it's over in London.
Manchester.
So, should be a good one. There's a lot of really fun fights, a lot of really fun up-and-coming talent on that. But I digress. We do have one more quick topic to go over here, guys. We don't talk about it all the time, but there's a pretty big boxing match coming up, and we know we like to talk boxing when there's a big boxing match come up. So the little MMAnomaly boxing.
That's right.
That's right, guys. We have Jermell Charlo, a.k.a. the better Charlo brother, in my opinion, coming in against Saul Alvarez, as he's named and listed on BoxRec.com, better known to the general populace as Canelo Alvarez, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, just like I said about Jermell Charlo, I like to call him the better Charlo. When I'm introducing his opponent, Saul Alvarez, a.k.a. Canelo Alvarez, I just like to refer to him as the better boxer. So, you know what my money's on here right off the bat. That being said, though, I mean, we have a true super welterweight for Jermell Charlo, coming in against a very, very game opponent in Canelo Alvarez, who's a super middleweight. And just to do the easy math for you, it means one man's bigger than the other. And in this case, it's the more dangerous man that's bigger than the other guy. Again, I have a lot of thoughts when it comes to this fight, and I'm probably just going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and give you the hot tag and give you the hot mic.
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, this is going to be a fun fight, man. Like you said, we got Canelo. I mean, Sal does not sound as cool as Canelo, so I'm glad he went with Canelo Alvarez. I mean, just a modern day giant, a legend of the game. Me being a Mexican, well, just me being Mexican. Let me stop there. And watching, a Mexican fighter through over the last decade and more. I mean, he's been boxing professionally for 18 years, but we're talking about somebody that, I have fun, cherishable memories watching him fight Mayweather back in the day. My dad, all the uncles drinking Modelo's or Tecates at the time, I'm pretty sure. But man, I mean, we're talking about a giant in the sport who over the last 3 to 4 years has really started to separate himself from his peers in the competition in general. And what's crazy with Canelo and the difference between UFC and boxing, if you don't know, you're going to see a lot more champions. You're going to see a lot more weight divisions. They have middleweight, flyweight, superweight, super fly. I mean, it's like what'd you say, brother? Every like 2 to 4 pounds, there's probably a new division of a champion. And so with that, I mean, we got someone in Canelo who started off his career fighting, and it was like 130, 140, and now is going up to fight guys 170, 168 now against a Jermell Charlo. I mean, we're talking 10, 20 pounds here over a decade. I mean, things that are unheard of. Like, nowadays, the double champ and things like that are vogue in UFC. But in boxing, I mean, to be a unified champion is one thing through all the different WBA, all these different leagues. That's one thing, right? To just be a champion and then to be a multiple division champion and to be unanimous and to just be now, outside, Mayweather kind of sunsetting now as the guy at the top of the heap. A Mount Rushmore boxer, in my opinion, up there with, again, a Mayweather, a Tyson, an Ali. I mean, Canelo, man, if he continues to win and if he continues to do it in this kind of fashion.
I was trying really hard not to cut in, but I got to cut in, man. You just named that Mount Rushmore and you left out a very important name here. Roy Jones Jr., bro. Roy Jones Jr.
Yes.
Talking about a young man who had, 7 belts across 4 different weight classes? I mean, he was the first to do it. Y'all must have forgot.
Roy Jones is a stud. You're absolutely right. I mean, 76 fights, 66 wins, 47 by KO. I mean, the list goes on, man. I mean, there's guys I can't even think of, not Roy Jones, but Mount Rushmore stuff. Prince Nassim. I mean, the original, not Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, he had his run, but Julio Cesar Chavez.
I like De La Hoya.
Oscar had his run.
I mean, Julio Cesar Chavez is fucking just come on.
He's probably the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, but Canelo's right there, brother. I mean, again, it's early to say, but in my lifetime, I mean, by far one of the most impressive fighters, boxers I've had the privilege of watching. What do we got here in the chat? I beat Roy with Canelo and Undisputed. Oh, shoot. Well, there you go.
See me after this, little homie.
Come on. Say less. I love it. But no, man, I mean, and again, everything that I mentioned about Canelo, again, over the last few years, he's really separated himself. I mean, his bouts with Triple G, he did lose to, I'm blanking on the name. Was it Bivol? Yeah, Dimitri Bivol for the super light heavyweight championship. So this guy's going up and trying to beat everybody in the block. These things are going to happen. I mean, I don't take that loss for much more than just a freaking great trying to go up and be extra great. That's totally fine. But again, to kind of round out my synopsis here, it's hard for me to see a scenario that Canelo loses. But that's not to say this guy, Jermell Charlo, man, he's no joke. I mean, the dude's he's big, obviously. Let's start there. He's the natural bigger guy. Canelo's going up to his division. They're both the same age. They both have a lot of octagon experience. And over the last few years, Jermell Charlo has really made a name for himself as well. Similar to Canelo having those bouts with Triple G. You're going to see Jermell Charlo with 2 fantastic fights. I mean, that first one was so close with, let me pull up his name, Brian Carlos Castaño. And these are both recent, some of the bigger boxing matches of over the last few years. Again, the dude's got sweet footwork. He's really slick. His distance management, his ability to move or just be right outside of the punch's range and counter with the fast flash. I can't talk anymore. Help me out here, Olin. But no, I think Jermell's a stud. He's going to do the best he can. I mean, I think he'll be able to weather the early storm of Canelo, but as it gets on, Canelo's going to find a way, man. He can only take so much damage. Similar to like a Caleb Plant, something like the 11th, 12th round. Wouldn't be surprised if just the accumulation of damage that Canelo's going to take or give, and how much can Charlo take? It's a question, but let me hear you, brother. I'm excited to hear this little analysis. And this is new, right? I mean, boxing, you heard in the intro occasionally, but this is an occasion. That's what we're talking about. So I can't wait to hear your synopsis, brother.
So, I mean, I got to be completely honest with you. Everything that you said is just absolutely money in the bank. I'll start right off with the elephant in the room here. Obviously, Canelo Alvarez is not perfect, a.k.a. Saul Alvarez. He's not perfect, guys. He does have losses to his name, but they don't happen very often. He's got 59 wins, 39 by way of KO or TKO, and 2 losses. None by way of knockout or TKO. If the man loses, he loses a grindy decision. And I mean, though it wasn't a split decision, it was a unanimous decision loss to Dmitry Bivol. There are oftentimes weight bullies, right? There are people that cut a lot of weight to fight. Dmitry Bivol is not one of those guys. He's perfect for the weight class he's in. This is, however, one of the rare occasions where I don't know if the better boxer won so much as the bigger, stronger boxer won. We've seen these types of things happen. Again, when Roy Jones Jr. was going up in weight class, there were some guys that maybe he shouldn't have fought. That doesn't mean that, he would ever go back in time and take those fights back, because you ask somebody like a Canelo or Saul Alvarez, you ask somebody like a Roy Jones Jr., hey, why did you choose to fight this guy that's terrifying? Why did you choose to fight this guy that's scary, that some people are saying has your number, could beat you? These people are going to tell you that they looked for the best challenges in their career, and that's what made them who they are. That's what made them the best of the best, and that's what made them compelling for us to fucking watch, guys. That's what makes it exciting. So he went up in weight class, maybe bit off a bit more than he could chew when it comes to Dmitry Bivol, and coming in against someone that going into that fight was 19-0, still couldn't put him out, still couldn't knock him out, still just couldn't get the job done. And you're talking about someone that's now 21-0, still undefeated, with 11 knockouts. He couldn't knock out a guy that had come up how many weight classes? 3, 4? Come on. You're talking about a stud in Saul Alvarez, folks. A guy who had no business being in there with that big of a man, but there he is. And then after that, what does he go on to do? Well, he comes in against a man you may have heard of, Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, sorry. And what does he do? Gets a unanimous decision win over that guy. Then he comes in over John Ryder, and he takes that guy down in 5. And then he comes in over Jermell Charlo, and he takes that guy out in 9. Oh, wait, spoiler alert, that hasn't happened quite yet. But that's what I see happening. I think he's probably going to be the first man ever to hand Jermell Charlo his first knockout. Jermell Charlo is somebody else who's 35-1. 35 of those wins, 19 of them are by way of KO. So he does not have nearly the same KO threshold or percentage ratio as Saul Alvarez. He also has never been knocked out, which is really great. But his loss, it was some time ago. It was against a young man named Tony Harrison, and it was also a unanimous decision. Now, the difference is it was a super welterweight fight. This fight is going to be a super middleweight fight. This is a much bigger weight class, and the man's already lost a decision to someone much bigger. Now, Alvarez has lost to someone much bigger than Jermell, right? Jermell has lost to someone much smaller than Alvarez. He's coming up against someone that, in my opinion, has, and like I might get chastised for this by the boxing purists, but he has arguably one of the greatest fight IQs we have ever seen in boxing in Canelo Alvarez. I think that is his greatest weapon in the entire arsenal. The head movement's great. The power's great. The hooks are nasty as hell. but none of it would work without the fight IQ. So the fact that he's able to be 10 steps ahead in these thoughts, I truly think that if he would have fought Mayweather at a 3 years later date, 4 years later date, he probably would have given Mayweather his only loss in his record.
Yeah, brother. That's a good call out. And I wanted to mention real quick for those that don't know, because I wanted to double check as well. I didn't want to misspeak. But super welterweight is 154. So that's 150, 155. That's Dustin, Connor, right? The likes of these guys. He was the champion there, champion at middleweight, which is 160, champion at super middleweight, 168, which is where they're now fighting. So he's basically going up to welterweight now. That's like Islam going up to go fight Leon. I mean, that's the kind of things we're talking about he's doing here. Right. And that'd be a huge jump. That'd be beast of Islam, right? And now to take it to Canelo point, just to reiterate like how badass he is, he went and fought Bivlov at a light heavyweight at 175. So this guy's almost fighting an Adesanya. That's like Islam going up to try to fight Adesanya at a catch weight, like, or Strickland. Like, what? I mean, what the heck? Like, that's crazy. Like, people don't do that.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah,
pretty tough. I mean, again, I think the letters on the wall, or the letters are on the wall here, as they say. I think Saul Alvarez comes out here. I think he gets it done. Again, I think he hands Jermell his first knockout loss. Now, I've done a lot of talking about Saul Alvarez. I've done almost no talking about Jermell Charlo. Now, I have to say, Jermell Charlo, Iron Man. I've never been an Iron Man fan in comic books, but I got to give props where it's due. The young man was born in Lafayette, Louisiana. Speaking of Dustin Poirier, shout out Lafayette. You love to see it. I'm a big Louisiana guy myself, having been mostly raised there. And, he currently resides in Richmond, Texas. So he's a Southern guy through and through. And, I love that. But I feel like despite all the things he's been saying in the build-up to this fight, I have to firmly disagree and think I'm going to just say I see through the BS here. He's been saying that he's no longer talking to his brother, Jamal. They had a falling out. He said that his brother's too chaotic and that he's taking away from the legacy of the Charlo name, and that Jermell is going to put the weight of that on his own shoulders and basically bring them back to elevated namesake in this fight against Saul Alvarez. So this is, to my knowledge, his only camp he's done completely separated from his brother without his brother's help. His brother, though I don't think he is as talented as Jermell, is a detriment. He's a big part of his game planning, his week leading up to fight week, and just honestly his camp in general. I think he is a very pivotal part of that kind of sauce, right? Like, you tell me that you make the best pizza sauce in the world, and then I tell you, cool, do it without tomatoes.
Like,
you still going to be able to make the best pizza sauce in the world, or is that a little bit of a fucking roadblock?
It's a main thing. I kind of need that. That's hilarious. And what I just noticed, Jermell and Jermal, the two brothers, the only difference between them is the letter E and A in their names. That is it. Very hard. Very hard. They're identical twins. I mean, my goodness.
I was going to say,
who's going to show up in there?
It's hard to tell, yeah.
Hey, bro, I don't want to go to this press conference. Can you go in there for me? But they're not talking, so maybe
it's like that for sure.
Dude, that'd be sick. Oh, that'd be so funny. No, I mean, shit, good points, brother. Yeah, I mean, I like how you put it. I mean, I just think he's distracted. That doesn't help. He did mention too, like, I'm coming in here a little more calm, trying to have a different demeanor. Like, and even that, you're kind of already acknowledging that, like, this opponent's different than anything you've ever faced. Like, who you're going in there with, and real recognize real. I mean, he's great, but I also would have maybe even appreciated, like, treat it like another day. I mean, it's just another opponent, right? I mean, if I'm hearing that, I'm kind of like, okay, he's dialed in. But when he's like, oh, I'm gonna be more elegant, I'm not gonna talk, I'm gonna, just let whatever it is, like all these switch ups, right? I mean, it's like you're breaking character here. I don't know if that's the way to do it going into the biggest fight of your career. I don't know if that's the move. Yeah, I don't know if that's the move. I don't know if now's the time to start shaking things up, but. And just everything about that statement. Like, I'm going to go into this fight, I'm going to be more calm, he said. Like, that alone is terrifying. Because, like, we've seen it, what happens when that's the case, right? Like, use Israel Adesanya as an example. What's happened when he's had an opponent come in calm that lets him find his range? That's when he gets highlight reel TKOs. What happened when he fought a Sean Strickland, who was like when you turn the waterfall on full blast
and you have the gentle stream underneath the waterfall. The gentle stream is no longer gentle. It's in a state of panic because it's constantly reacting to the fucking flow of water coming from atop the mountain that is now crushing it with a waterfall. So Sean Strickland was the waterfall in that situation. And I mean, let's just be completely honest, guys. If Jermell Charlo has a hope in hell of winning this fight, he's got to be the waterfall. You can't be the flowing stream. The flowing stream is already south. Better call south. Because he's literally that guy. He's going to be flowing back and forth. Just throw.
He is. And that's where he's never seen that. Like, nobody who's going to give you a look that Canelo can give you. Like, nobody has that kind of defense. Nobody has that kind of movement. Nobody's going to be able to touch you in different angles in ways that you're not used to getting touched up. I mean, it's different in there. He's a different animal. And Charlo was mentioning too, he's like, oh, I think I saw in the some of the build-up stuff they do. He's like, oh, I squared off with him. He didn't look that big. He's not that tall, whatever. They make him sound like this big, whatever. He's like, he ain't shit. And I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, you're 6 foot. Like, you're obviously the bigger guy. But I mean, Tyson wasn't tall. Yeah, I don't think you're saying that to him. I don't care how big or tall you are. If anything, I kind of like the idea of being inside and being able to get in, and, stay right in here with those tall guys, baby. Come on. Oh, dude, that feels good just doing it. I don't know. There's something about that. I just want to put my head in someone's chest. Sorry. Lost my mic. Get excited.
It is really, really fun once you get like your head movement on and you're sparring and you like, if like you can get your head going back and forth and you get close enough without getting touched and you feel your forehead touch their chest, it's just, I mean, it's
euphoric.
I don't think there's a better word for it, bro.
Oh, dude. Money in the bank.
Three in the bank. 3 in the bank, bro. I'm hitting 3.
Bro, tell me why I was at the gym.
Left, right, left. Just fucking shovel hooking that gut, dude.
Bro, I was so proud. Like, I've been like doing my boxing training on the bags at the gym at EOS Fitness. Shout out. One of the locations here, they have like the big teardrop bag, and then they have the big like Muay Thai kickboxing bag. So I'll kind of be able to go back and forth. The last few days, there's been a little Mexican homie, so I've been like kind of sharing it with them. We've been kind of keeping each other motivated, throwing combos, whatever.
Hell yeah.
But then today I went in and 2 new guys like on the bags. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Like, we get dudes are boxers, like one tall Mexican guy, his little brother. I'm like, okay, shit, they look legit. Probably not gonna get on the bag today. I'm missing a watch. I'm gonna be spectator, but right on. And then right next to him, dude, there's these 2 like young brothers, dreaded like tees. They're in their Crocs. They had their gloves and they had the 45 in the middle, and they're doing the basically like the 1 foot in, like tire style boxing.
Oh, let's go, dude.
It was sick. They're just going bodies, like kind of fun. But I was like, yo, this is buzzing right now. Like, I'm hyped, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, dude, just fucking drilling.
Drilling, bro. I was like, dude, people are drilling out here. Like, this is sick. I was just so excited, man. I had to share. Hell yeah. You know the vibes. Hey, well, you're going to class, brother. I mean, you same thing, man.
I went with the pop rib and everything, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Shit.
They keep me down.
You've been just shading? Did you have to switch up stances? How are you adjusting?
Honestly, like it felt good throughout the entire class. The second I sat down in the car, I was like, it was real tender.
Now the adrenaline's like, kind of
all that turning. And then of course, like usually the class is so packed. All we're able to work on is like boxing stuff because there's not enough room for kicks. But there were 6 people in class today. So as soon as class started, AP comes in, Coach Eric P, and he's like, all right, guys, it's a small class today, so we're going to rush through the boxing so we can work on some kicks. And I'm like,
let's go. You just start like kicking, like so much room for activities.
Any other day of the week without the rib, I'd be like, let's fucking go, dude.
Fire it up.
And then as soon as they get to the kicks, Mary's like, I don't want to do you want to do the other side? And I'm like, we're not working on switch kicks. We're working on like roundhouse kicks. So just kick this side. She's like, I don't want to because you're rib. And I'm like, just fucking kick it. Like, you're fine.
It's fine. Let's just do it. Hurry up. That's hilarious.
It was awesome though.
That's fantastic. Love it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. They called me in the front of the class again today to show the class how to throw the combos.
Well, I'm not surprised there, brother. I mean, that's textbook.
It was dope. We were working on some fun combos today, dude. We were doing a 1-2, and then you block a hook, throw a check hook, and then 2. And then as Mary put in the chat here, then she kicked the shit out of me. She did.
And then take a kick.
Numerous times. So yeah,
you left that part
out. 1-2, block, check hook, 2.
Nice.
2, 3, 2, roll, 2, 3.
Oh, dude,
3,
fire.
2, 3. 3, 2, 3.
3.
Roll. 3, 2.
2. Nice, dude. That's a realistic like flow right there. Like that's what you're seeing. That's what we're gonna see a lot of come Saturday night.
Nice.
Let's go.
Nice. We were they had us run through like one at a time, and then after we got those 3 proficiently, they're like, all right, call them out to your partner. Go through all 3 now.
Nice. And so you guys are able to do it on each other, right? Like Dylan and Alex.
So it's like you're actually like it's basically like the first 15 minutes, one person's holding mitts, the other person's holding gloves, and then you switch.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
I guess it was probably like the first 25 and 25.
Okay.
And then we did the last like 10 or 15 minutes for kicks.
Nice.
And we did roundhouse and push kicks, which are amazing.
Ooh, those are the fun ones.
And dude, Coach Aaron Pete was hella funny today. He was talking about someone asked because he was like doing push kicks, and he was like, "Any questions?" The guy raised his hand. He's like, "Yeah." So where are you aiming with that kick? And so Coach AP is like, "So in a professional fight, he's all in a professional fight, you're gonna aim right here. You're gonna try and push the wind out."
Plexes. Yeah.
And then he points at me and he's all, "But if you're fighting a fucking monster like this guy in a street fight, kick him in the fucking nuts."
Here goes a little south, brother.
And he demonstrates a fucking like whip kick, and I'm like, that's not a push kick.
Yeah, that is not. He just goes straight. Yeah, that's hilarious.
You're never gonna be able to have kids kick.
Taking your manhood, brother, and your soul. Yeah, that is that's like, well, all is fair in those kind of situations. You know that.
All is fair. Yeah, and then Mary, of course, looks over and she's like, "I'm going to practice that one on him tonight." And I was like, "No, absolutely not.
No more, Coach. Stop it.
Absolutely not.
Not
absolutely not." Yeah. So again, no super crazy fights coming up this weekend, other than, of course, this beautiful, brilliant boxing match, which I will definitely be tuning into.
Absolutely.
The Saul Alvarez, aka Canelo Alvarez, versus Jermell Charlo fight.
Better call Saul.
And obviously, for any of those that are watching in video that have seen the top half of this shirt and are wondering what the hell it is an old school Admiral Thrawn shirt. And I know you're thinking, "Oh, Admiral Thrawn from Ahsoka." Nah, dude. Mary got me this shirt before season 1 of Mandalorian was even conceptualized. This is Star Wars Rebels Admiral Thrawn, homie. It's the real deal.
Oh, dude. Oh, gee. Yeah, he looks a little different. Yeah, that's a different guy. Let's go.
That's the man, the myth, the legend, bro. If you've ever seen Inglourious Bastards, with like the Nazis and the
great movie,
the Nazi hunters,
Brad
basically
Pitt.
with Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah.
So Christoph Waltz, the like crazy
phenomenal actor,
Nazi guy, the hunter, basically. That's Grand Admiral Thrawn, in my opinion. Like that's the best way to describe him to people that have never seen Star Wars Rebels. Like he goes to Twi'lek villages, murders all the Twi'leks, razes their villages to the ground, like burns everything to the ground. But before he does that, he steals all their valuables so that way he can study their relics and find out what made them happy before he killed them. So that way he can hunt the Twi'lek that he's hunting. And he's literally like, in order to understand our enemy, we must truly get to know them. What makes them happy? What makes them sad? Where they would hide. We need to know their next move before they do. Like, he's terrifying.
Yeah, he's a good villain.
He's
in the new Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. Oh my god. This guy said Ahsoka, dude.
Ahsoka.
We interrupt this moment to bring you.
Oh no, it's been a while since the curtain's been called, brother. That's hilarious. I earned that one. I really earned that one.
It's been a while since I had to break out the good old error beep. But Ahsoka. People don't forget. Ahsoka. He's the new big bad in Ahsoka. They've actually been teasing him for quite some time. And I digress. If you have not dove into this season of Ahsoka, this is some side chat or non-MMA stuff for you guys, because at the end of the day, we're also just fucking big nerds. If you haven't dove into Ahsoka, before you do, I highly recommend you just go in and watch seasons 1 through 4 of Star Wars Rebels. Even if you're not going to watch the animated Clone Wars series, watch Rebels, because I think people that don't understand this show or that are like scratching their head at the end of every episode, they are people that went into this show thinking, oh, this is going to be like Mandalorian season 4. No,
right.
This is Rebels season 5.
Ooh. There's so many good storylines, man. This whole world's cool. I'm not like as big on the Star Wars as you, obviously, but shit, man. I mean, you've told me about the Clone Wars and everything. That's definitely on the agenda, but man, maybe I will have to do it in your order.
Off telling him about Clone Wars. I sat him down and I lit a candle and I said, Nano, let me tell you something. It's a story called The Clone Wars. Once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, the Clone Wars. No, I didn't actually say it like that, but I really should have.
Pretty sure we were on bar crammed like a bunch of sardines, and you're like, bro, you're like, Clone Wars is the best like animated series ever. You're like, dude, look it up. Like, no, like look it up. I'm like, I don't know, look it up. Freaking 93 Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, holy shit, it's like literally like the best. It is literally the best like animated thing out on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, that's just the best.
And Rebels are two of
like,
the best like rated Star Wars things in general.
That's pretty baller.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And also, I gotta say, like Grand Admiral Thrawn in the animated series, they had that motherfucker doing like some Muay Thai shit. Straight up.
Ooh, busting some moves. I like it.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna share. I'll share the link with you right after we wrap this episode because you got to check this out. I got to see your reaction to this shit.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
That being said, guys, I can sit here and gab about nerdy shit all freaking day, but I digress. We're not gonna take up your entire night that way. Instead, we're gonna go and cut to the credits, and we are probably going to discuss after we wrap what new days we're gonna do. Because I mean, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, we're battling football here, guys. I'm having to move from 8 to 8:30. We might keep the Monday slot. We might move the Thursday slot. We'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. I'm also trying to do 2 back-to-back Muay Thai classes on Thursday.
There we go, brother. Yeah, let's make sure you got that. Come on now.
I just found out that one of my favorite coaches teaches back-to-back 5:30, 6:30. And I was like, oh, what do you do in the 6:30 class? And he's like, well, you know, we've always focused on punches at 5:30. I always focus on kicks at 6:30. And I'm like, I will see you for 2 hours the next day.
I am going to bring a lunch, baby, because I am sticking around. Let's go.
Awesome, brother. That being said, we will probably not be here next Thursday, but we will definitely be here for at least 1 or 2 episodes next week. And pay attention to the Twitter at MMAnomaly, and that's where you can find the updates. And if you're not following the co-host with the most, make sure you're following at Jive Turkey Talk on Twitter. YouTube channel coming soon for this guy too, where he's going to be the best YouTube fantasy football breakdown channel you have ever seen. It's the only one that you're not subscribed to yet, and it's also the best one you're not subscribed to yet. So until then, and until the next episode of this show, keep the passion for mixed martial arts alive. We fucking love you all. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And we will see you next time.
You've been listening to the MMAnomaly Show. No filter. As you may have been able to tell, we dig the MMA, and our passion is to dive deep into the upcoming fights, give you our expert breakdowns, and help you make sense of all the chaos that is the fight game. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at MMAnomaly. Be cool, and we'll see you next time.